Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the full commission meeting for the Greater Hilltop Area Commission. Just want to explain as we get going here. This is the first time we're trying a hybrid meeting. So we're live streaming on Facebook and YouTube right now. We also have a Zoom meeting that we've set up, and there are guests here representing projects that we're going to review as part of the zoning committee that are not going to be here in person, but they're going to log in over the Zoom meeting. So hopefully once I hook up here, we'll be able to see that on the screen here. If anybody has any problems with hearing or seeing, please, speak up and let somebody know so we can address those as just as quickly as we can. So, Rachel, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Barnacle.
Here.
Bates Fry. Here. Bruno. Here. Dallas.
Here.
Megan.
Here.
Kepler.
Here.
Kipley. Okay. Klein. Here. Josh Maddox.
Here.
Sean Maddox.
Here.
Mohammed. Moore.
Present.
Paxton. I'm here. James White.
Great, thank you. Josh said he was not feeling well tonight, so we'll be here. So, just wanted to show everybody quickly, if this is the first time you might be joining over live stream or here at the meeting. The purpose and function of an area commission were established to afford additional voluntary citizen participation in decision making in an advisory capacity to facilitate communication, understanding, and cooperation between neighborhood groups, cities officials, and developers. That's all written in City Code at 3109.01. I'm going to try to figure out how to move this down. Maybe. Let's see if that'll work a little bit better. So the agenda is on the screen right now. We've had some paper copies, pass those along. If anybody needs a copy, we might have a couple of extra. James, do we have any extra? Okay, so there's some extra paper agendas there if anybody needs those. So moving on to the approval of minutes from our last meeting. James, you were able to get those to everybody. Sent them out last night. So Mr. Brudno is making a motion to approve the minutes. Second by Commissioner Wynn. All in favor? Aye. Anybody not want to approve them? Okay. Thank you. Going to move on to City of Columbus staff reports. We're going to start with Sergeant Brophy here tonight. Office says he's in Europe now on some kind of a what Josh? No? Okay. No? Okay. Avery Townsend, I think I saw her on this meeting, so.
Can you hear me?
Sure we,
Can you hear me? My audio is cutting. I know
Avery,
Melissa's is also cutting in and out.
You or Avery, I think that you're
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm so sorry.
Why don't you go ahead and-
Oh, you can? I can't tell.
Way ahead of schedule, so.
Hey. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead. I apologize for that. I know Melissa's is also cutting in and out. So for my updates, they're pretty short. Nothing that wasn't in my weekly emails. Also, the new commissioners, if you're there a couple minutes ago, I forwarded you my email from yesterday, and I included some extra information that will be useful to you now that you're on the commission, some council member contact information and that sort of stuff. So outside of that, we are looking to pass the operating budget on Monday. They amended and tabled with their council's amendments yet last night. And the link to that press conference where they outlined the priorities, budget priorities, was included in my email as well. And then I also wanted to put the West Side Council community meeting date tentatively on your schedule for May 18th at 6 p.m. We are planning for it to be in person, but I almost feel like I'm jinxing myself in saying that, but I wanted to give you that date as soon as I could. And then other than that, I think that is all I have. If anyone has, I want to just remind you guys, just so you know what's going on. I know it's in my emails, but the Charter Review Commission is meeting, as well as the Citizens Commission on Elected Official Compensation Review. I believe their set schedule is every Wednesday at 10. Their site is live with updates. The Charter Review Commission site isn't live yet because they started to meet after. So I wanted to make sure you guys know they're going on right now as well. That's it.
I think the sound was coming across pretty well. So you did a really good job. Like everybody in the audience, I think you hear pretty well. You can see on the screen. So you did really well. It's good. Okay, so
Okay, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Melissa Green, West Side Liaison with City of Columbus Department of Neighborhoods. Just wanted to give a quick reminder to everybody, two kind of housekeeping things. The first one is February 26th from 9 to noon online. We have our virtual building and zoning services training, and I really want to encourage, I know we've got quite a few newer commissioners on the area commission, as well as some folks who've been around for a while. It's always a good training. I really, really recommend it if you're a new area commissioner. Everyone, I feel like, should really take it at least once to get a good understanding of some of the nuts and bolts things that are important for commissions. So please keep that on your schedule. The second thing I'm going to ask Dan, if you could go ahead and make sure for next month's agenda that we have opportunity to talk about the budget. It is that time of year again for area commission budgeting. So if you have any money left from last year, we want to spend it as quickly as we can. The next contract year begins May 1st. So we like to have this on the March agenda so that you can discuss what you're thinking for the next year's budget and then vote to approve that in May at your May meeting. So that way we can get all of the paperwork submitted on time, which you guys always do. You're usually the first to turn that paperwork in. So good for you guys. The next thing that I have, I just want to put it on your radar. If you are a parent, our registration for our outdoor recreation camps, believe it or not, is opening up on February 24th. And then for all other camps, the registration opens on March 1st. So if you're wanting to get kids involved in summer camp this summer, please go ahead and keep that on your radar. Also, I think that the play grants, which provide financial assistance to families for, I think, up to 1 week of camp, are available now. So you could go on the Recreation and Parks website and sign up for that. And then last but not least, I just wanted to say a couple words about the third phase. I know I've been talking to you guys, it feels like for a year about this, but our Hilltop Recycle Right campaign, which is underway. We have gone through our first phase, which was mailing out a broad spectrum mailer to 8,000 households in the Hilltop. Then we're zeroing in on a targeted 800 household area for a prepaid postage. If you want a recycling cart, send it back to us with your information. And those went out a couple of months ago. And we are looking to move into phase 3, which is our public engagement phase. So we have contracted with My Project USA to help us hire some folks who are local that live in the Hilltop to help us go door to door, talk to folks about their waste, their recycling, get them registered for a cart if they don't already have one, talk to them about how they can recycle right. We're going to be employing folks from the Hilltop to do that, $15 an hour for over a period of 8 weeks. And so we are holding an information session for that tonight. We're really excited to be able to build on some of the momentum of the trash summit that the area commission hosted last fall. We heard a lot of really great feedback from you and are really trying to be attentive to that and incorporate a lot of that in our planning as we're moving into phase 3. So excited to give you guys an update about the work that is underway with that. Also, just a quick plug, for the first time ever, right now, the traditional way to order a recycling cart is to call our 311 system, which we know sometimes, depending on the time of day, it can be cumbersome to wait on the phone to speak to a representative. And so we have set up just for this initiative a email address that if you don't have a recycling cart and you need one here in the Hilltop, you can email hilltoprecycles@columbus.gov. Send your name, phone number where we can reach you, and of course your home address. This is only for residential properties, not commercial properties. The city doesn't provide recycling to commercial properties or multifamily. But if you are a resident here and you need a recycling cart, email us at hilltoprecycles@columbus.gov. If you don't have a cart already, your first one is on us. And so if you have any questions, I'll take those. And if not, that's all I have.
I have a question. Melissa, can you hear me? Melissa, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Hi, I saw that CPD shared on Twitter that they are going to start removing abandoned vehicles from the street in a new initiative. This was posted last week. Sergeant Roque is not here to explain it. Do you have any other details on that? They said they would be starting this week, but it was just a one-time shared graphic and no additional details.
Yeah, so because, we're in this situation. Can you hear me? So sometimes, we've been in a position where we've been unable to tow abandoned vehicles because our impound lot has been at capacity, and it has been a process of trying to work both with CPD as well as our city and county prosecutors. A lot of those cars that are in impound are actually part of ongoing investigation. So it's not as simple as just being able to tow them out of there. We have to make sure that when we're doing that, we're being strategic and not disrupting any pending investigations. So it's taken us a minute to get that under control. I believe this initiative is, so our parking enforcement division is under Columbus Police, but they are a civilian division. And as happened after the pandemic, when there was a towing moratorium, CPD and some of our officers came out and gave us reinforcements to kind of help clear the street and get caught back up. And I know that this is something that they are also doing to kind of help us dig out from our current situation, since we've been unable to tow for a period of time. So we're really grateful for them. Our officers are always the first to step up, no matter what the ask is. And so we're happy to that they're able to help us with this to kind of work through that backlog.
Thank you, Melissa. No other questions? Thank you. I think, Dana Dorsey, you're out there, right?
I am. I'm here over Zoom.
Step forward here.
Okay.
We can see you well.
All right. Can you hear me well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Apologies, I could not be there in person. I'm at another area commission meeting in Linden. But my name is Dana Dorsey. I am the neighborhood planning project manager with the Department of Neighborhoods, working on the implementation of the Envision Hilltop and One Linden plans. And I don't have much for you tonight. We did have our Envision Hilltop Advisory Committee meet last Friday. I think the meeting went very well. We do have representation from your area commission with Chair Fagan. I need to make sure I have your new vice chair on my list as well, to make sure we always have you guys on there. We are meeting in subcommittees based on the 3 pillars of the plan: people, place, and home. So if any of your committees want to be a part of those committees, we'd be more than happy to involve those chairs into the ones that they fit right in. And then my only other announcement is actually an introduction to Mr. Nick Plouk, who is there with you in person. He is our neighborhood program specialist and started with us in the beginning of January, coming from the city of Dublin. So I'll give him a chance to introduce himself. And after that, I can take questions.
Dana, we are just having a little bit of problems hearing you. 3/4 of your presentation was great. You just introduced another person that works with you in the plan, and I didn't get to hear his name. He's here with us today, so we're gonna
He's
get
here
in
with
person.
you, so he can help go ahead and introduce
Have him step
himself.
up and say hello. You just want me to in the back of the room? That would be fantastic. Or mute yourself. Would you like me to come to the mic? I would appreciate that, sir.
If you guys are on the internet by chance and don't need to be, could you cut off, please? Thank you. It's killing the signal right now. That's the problem.
No, we do have a camera going right here, so it's a live stream.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice to meet you all. I'm Nick Plouk. I started in January with the Department of Neighborhoods. I'll be working with Dana on the implementation of the Envision Hilltop plan. Previously, I was with the City of Dublin for about 5.5 years. Very excited to be here, very excited about the work, and I'll be here for the duration of the meeting, so please feel free to come and say hello to me afterwards, and looking forward to working with you all. So very nice to meet you.
Nick, were there 3 subcommittees that Dana tried to say and we didn't hear?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of information on that as well. So the 3 subcommittees are based on the 3 pillars of the Envision Hilltop plan. So you have the people, place, and home. And so we're kind of allowing people to kind of fit in where they feel the best, kind of represent those specific pillars. And that's kind of how we move forward to the subcommittee group. So any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure here. Thank you. So Dana, anything else? Anything else? No, just a goodbye. No, thanks for joining in. It's good to see you. Okay, that concludes the City of Columbus staff reports. Going to move on to reports of officers. So we formatted this agenda just a little bit. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. See that. So just really quickly, I did pass out for commissioners the most latest and updated assignments to the committees that we have. I emailed you one week and a half or so ago. There have been some slight changes, so this is the most recent roster of where you are as it relates to our committees and who is chairing and or co-chairing each of those. So really, there's only been one addition to what was emailed you. Fedhanit is going to be on our zoning committee, and Josh Paxton is not and going to be just not be on the zoning committee. So that's one change that's on the paper that's different than what you had there. Okay. There are some additional projects that we're being asked to send a representative from the commission to or to be a part of. I'll make sure that I pass those out to everybody at the end of the meeting. One is the street sweeping project that's going to be happening here soon. And they're asking for a commissioner to be a part of advising this project, right? So we need to make a decision about that. Then there's been a lot of invitations lately. There is also, they're asking for one of us to be a part of the Solvent Rights Project, right? So there's some applications that have come through for different art installments, sculptures, traffic boxes, shelters, a lot of art that's going to potentially be happening. They're asking for a commissioner to be part of that as they go into the final phases around judging those and making some awards. So that's also, I need somebody to step forward. Just let me know after the meeting if you would like to be a representative. If I don't hear from anybody, I'm just going to reach out and say, you know, Victoria, would you be willing to do this just so we get some representation? You can always say no, you know, that's perfectly fine. But if I don't get somebody to volunteer, I was just going to reach out and see specifically, and then just do the ask, right? So those are the two projects I wanted to make sure I told everybody about. So that's my report. We give James an opportunity as vice chair. Do you have anything you'd like to report on?
Would ask everybody, we have severe weather coming this week. If you see or know of any type of warming station or any type of organization in the hilltop offering services to those in need, please share it on Facebook or tag us on Facebook so that we can share it on our page. I was very busy this week and I've been needing to type something up, but the bad weather is supposed to start tomorrow. So again, I appreciate it if everybody could just, if you know of a program or service being offered in the hilltop, please share it or tag the commission in it so that we can share it out too. The hilltop is facing a lot of shortages when it comes to services to help people in need, and just doing every bit part that we can is very grateful. So thank you.
Sean, as our treasurer, this was the report that you sent. So do you want to pass you the mic?
Yeah, but really, I don't need a mic, I don't think, everyone can hear me. There's no activity this month at all, so we started out with 2,300, and whatever that is, 2,385. And then there's 2,345, 68, we ended with that. So, no activity. So that's the amount of money that we have to spend.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Winnie, do you have anything to report as secretary? Great, thank you. All right, so on to committee reports. So we're going to start with the zoning committee. Our zoning committee has been chaired for the last year by Patrick Barnacle, and we're going to have co-chairs moving into this year, Patrick and Rachel Winning. So I'm going to pass you the mic if that's okay.
For this month, I'm going to be chairing all these applications. Next month, Rachel and I will split the applications, and we'll probably do some other alternating wheels as the year goes on, taking turns. Okay, so the first application is 1000 Georgesville Road, Columbus, Ohio, 43228. The zoning number is Z21092. Is the applicant here or in Zoom? Maybe, I don't remember the name. The agent is Ted Seeker. Okay, I will skip that one and possibly come back to it. It is original zoning. It's not particularly complicated, but we'll skip to it, possibly come back. All right, so the next one is council variance 21-152. That's 106 South Wheatland Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43204. The applicant is Shelley Casto with Pilot Mueller. At the committee level, the vote was request is to allow C2 office use in a residentially zoned district. So it is zoned single family, and they're asking to use it for office/educational. Their office footprint is going to require them to do some modifications to the to the site. They are not looking for on-site parking, so along with this, they're also asking for, actually, I was gonna say they're asking for a parking variance, but they are actually not asking for
have a greater outreach presence in the community. So we have identified and made an offer. You can go ahead, Dan. Offer on 106 South Wheatland, which is the parsonage, original parsonage for Hilltop UMC right next door. It was flipped for residential use. And the exterior will really not change. We will be retaining the building and really making minor modifications in order to allow us to have ADA accessible facilities. So there will be a ramp out back and things like that. Yeah, great. So my apologies, I did not actually take this slide out, but we just learned that we can't use that lot space. So if you would like an updated variance list, we are asking for the residential use to be changed to commercial C2. A parking setback line that a previous owner has paved the rear up right up to the alley. So there needs to be a variance there. And then because we cannot use this parking, we're asking for a variance to allow us to only provide 2 or 3 spots. Truth is, we won't have increased traffic. Kids will still be dropped off and picked up at the garden itself. We're not expanding staff, so we think that there really will not be any parking or traffic impact whatsoever. And then a vision clearance. There's an old growth tree that may block a vision triangle that the city has advised me that they think can remain. So those are the changes. And yeah, so capacity will be very limited. Groups of 15 kids in there at any one time, 3 or 4 staff members. We will use the house primarily during business hours, not evenings, not Sundays. So there really will not be noise impact, no big events, nothing like that. This is the rear, so that's the paved area. We want to get at least 2 spots in there, 1 ADA, the car will be removed. Maybe there's not room in the impound for it, I don't know, but we're going to put a bike rack in there, and we will take that fence out that you see along the right. It runs all the way around the back. That is not we don't want a fence. We want have it be very open. And then, again, children will be dropped off and picked up at the garden in 99.9% of the time, so. It's the interior, some 3 spaces that we can use for that sort of classroom space. We can properly prep our cooking activities in the kitchen, which we've been using camp stoves and, you know, all of that for a long time. Real bathrooms. We've been using a porta potty for years and years. So this will make a big difference for us. Any questions about that? Well, we have an offer on it and it's contingent on whether or not we get zoning approval and can use it as intended. Yeah, so the seller was willing to give us a 3-month window of time to get this done. Yep.
Excellent, Mike back. Are there any other commissioner questions about these? Like, are there any community questions about the site? Any community or commissioner comments? Yes.
So you referenced, okay. No, that's okay. You referenced removing the wood fence to both sides or just the one side that's adjacent to?
So it's the rear and the side along floral, that blocks the views in the garden. So we want to clear.
Just right there on the right.
Yeah, right here and right behind it. We want a clear vision to the garden and full access. Yeah, the one next to the neighbor, we'll leave the one next to the neighbor.
Yeah. Have you talked to the neighbors about it
Yeah.
at all? Okay.
Absolutely, neighbors right here.
Okay. Okay. Just asking.
We would like to submit a comment of support for the youth garden person. We are the neighbors right across the street from Floral, on Floral, so directly adjacent.
Thank you for the comment.
Is any of the interior layout changing? No. We are going to transfer a laundry room in the rear into an ADA accessible restroom, but retain the laundry as well. But that literally is the only change. It will remain, it will look like a home and could go back to residential use should we need it.
Quick question.
Sure.
You guys have about 8 spaces as well, right in front of the garden too, right?
Exactly. Right there.
So, and there's never, if ever, a challenge for parking around here. Okay.
How is the parking lot accessed?
So once we remove, well, there is a gate right now, that'll be part of what we take down. So there's a turn in, we are mapping that out with our site planner, but there is a, you turn in from the alley, essentially, not from Floral, you turn in from the alley. Yep.
I just have a clarification on the parking. We actually had our one of our voting locations there last year at the garden,
And I would think I was there half the day and we didn't see any issue when it came to parking for voting. I believe the main street that the garden's off of is right next to the Ashburn Center, and that whole stretch of the street isn't used. So I don't foresee any parking issue with the garden or at the house, just because it is so close to an abundance of street parking. I will say that people do fly up and down their street, so it's not the safest street to park on, but if you're only there for half a day, I don't think there's gonna be any issue with people when it comes to parking.
Oh, okay. And yeah, so there's the site. So, any other community or commissioner comments? Mr. Phillips.
Although we never voted on it as a civic association, as president of Highland West, I think it's a very welcome addition. And everyone I talked to about it that's a board member of Highland West, there's been no objection. It's everyone's very supportive of it. Thanks. So thank you for bringing this.
Yes. Yes.
As far as the possible parking spot that will be in the
blind spot. Where exactly is that? Can you show me that?
Sure. Yeah, either in the photo or on the site plan.
Yeah, Dan, can you show that last one?
I don't know. If it's really- This is the house. This is the paved area. And so pulling this. Kind of the bigger. And for over the least possible. One additional regular.
Technically, this area should be a clear area.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, there is a tree. This is a tree. If you'd like to retain it if you can, but.
I would like to move to approve the application of CB 21-152, 106 South Wheatland Avenue. The secretary, when you're ready.
Article.
Yes.
James Brown.
Yes.
Bruno. Yes. Dallas.
Yes.
Fagan.
Yes.
Kepler.
Yes.
Kepler. Klein. Yes. Josh Maddox.
Yes.
Sean Maddox.
Yes.
Will Hoffman.
Yes.
Or not vote. Paxton, not here. Winning, I'm a yes. White.
Yes.
Yes. 0 no.
Patrick,
Yes.
just a heads up,
Mr. Saker.
Right.
Yes, thank you. All right, Mr. Saker for 1000 Georgesville Road, Z21-092. It has made it to our Zoom meeting. I appreciate him coming. So for the rest of the commissioners who are not in zoning and for the community, this is an application for original zoning. The property is being annexed from Franklin Township. It's currently being used as an office, and the request is to continue office use. I believe this is either C2 or C3. I can't remember the original zoning request. I will rely on the applicant to reinform us. But it is just for continuing use as it currently exists. It is currently being used as an urgent care building. It will continue to be used as an urgent care building. The reason that for this application is that they wish to be annexed to the city of Columbus for to be connected to the city of Columbus utilities. And because of that, this original zoning application is required. Mr. Saker.
Mr. Saker, you can go ahead and start the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is there a question on the floor?
We were welcoming you to the meeting presentation.
Oh. I'm having problems hearing what's going on.
Sir, can you hear me now? Mr. Saker.
I'm getting a lot of feedback on my end. I'm not sure what the problem is. Hello?
I think it's
in order for him to be able to hear you, you have to talk to the mic and be muted yourself. and then he'll be able to hear, and then when he speaks, you have to put the mic up there and unmute. You're
Go ahead, Mr. Slater. Yes, Mr. Saber, you can go ahead.
Mr. Saker, please begin whenever.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite, I'm having a lot of trouble getting the audio here. All right,
Please
let me see
begin
what I can.
whenever.
Mr. Saker, you can go ahead now. We can see you well and I can hear what you're saying.
Okay, this application is being submitted on behalf of United Urgent Care LLC for an original zoning.
We can hear you, sir.
Subsequent to the annexation of the property to the city of Columbus. The annexation was requested in order to secure utility services to the property. The current use is the current zoning is rural. We would like to request a zoning of C4, which would allow the current continued use of the property as it's currently being used and as it was used prior to its annexation to the city.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Does that include what, sir?
Does it include your presentation? I'm sorry, you were pausing.
Does it conclude my presentation? The property is currently being used as a medical practice offices. The applicant intends to continue the current use. There are no anticipated changes to the use of the property upon a rezoning.
Okay, can you mute for a sec? Thank you. So this is a fairly basic application. I feel it was relatively straightforward. The zoning discussion was pretty short. There was voting in a unanimous approval, 5 yes, 0 no. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Any community commission questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I will move for approval.
Article.
Yes.
Bates Brown. Yes. Birdo. Yes. Dallas.
Yes.
Saden.
Yes.
Kepler. Yes. Heflin. Klein. Yes. Ralph Maddox.
Yes.
Sean Maddox.
Yes.
Mohammed.
Yes.
Ahmed Yas. And James.
Yes.
That would be 13 yeses, 0 noes.
All right, your application's been approved. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commission.
All right, so the next application. I really hate that, sir. The next application is 2456 West Broad Street. This is CV 21-117. The application at the zoning committee was voting for 5 yes, 0 no, another unanimous application. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. That I was, sorry, there's 2 different ones I'm reading here. 2456 was actually 4 yes, 1 no. The underlying application was for a allowance of residential property on a C4 property. The C4 property was situated between 2 used car lots or slash repair slots or slash chop shops. I don't really know what they are. The applicant is requesting single family usage. Under C4, it is prohibited to have first floor residential. You can have second, third, fifth floor, doesn't matter. But ground floor must be used for commercial use under C4 zoning. The old house slash old funeral home slash church, other things that it used to be, is currently divided into multi-family unit property. I think it does have a first floor apartment technically, but it's not allowed to be used under existing zoning. And the applicant is here. Further discussion, there's a community opposition that was made against it, it was read to this commission last month. It was kicked back to zoning to further clarify, possibly restructuring the way that the variance was used, was requested. Yeah, it's come back after the presentation. We came back with 4-1 vote for approval. So if you would like to speak on the application and make comments on what's changed.
I'm Jeff Brown with Smith and Hale representing the applicant. Last time I was here, a question came up: should there be more conditions or something else to go along with the request to make sure that it gets used as we were proposing? And so I brought that up to the zoning staff, and they came back and I shared the email with GHAC. I mean, what they said to me is that you're asking for a single family dwelling, and that's all it allows. So the question was whether it could be a rooming house or a boarding house. By being a single family house, it doesn't allow those uses. So the city staff felt that there was no reason to put any additional conditions on it because the request is very clear as to what we're asking for. And the reason we're doing that is if you're trying to sell this as a house or you're trying to finance it as a house, you have to produce a piece of paper to the bank or the buyer that says that you can have a single family house here. And the property is zoned C4, and so single family is not allowed in C4. So that's the reason for the request. And we did it as a council variance, again, after talking to the zoning staff. This is the C4 commercial corridor along West Broad Street. So the 2 automobile uses on either side of us, they thought it was inappropriate to put a residential zoning on that frontage. So we're asking for a specific use to go on the property and the existing C4 zoning stays on the property. So you have the C4 uses and you have 1 additional use as a single family house.
Any sure questions?
So,
hi, I'm Jenny. I'm the local historian, Chicky. So this property that we've been talking about, I thought about this after the last full commission meeting, but I wanted to bring this up to you. This property is one of the oldest ones along Broad Street. And it has a long and storied history, as we've documented, that I've documented in my groups on Facebook. And the crappy part about it is that it's such a hot potato, right? And it's been through so many different changes. It's become, it was a long time ago, it was the Hilltop Historical Society office spaces. It was Pater Noster House at the height of the AIDS epidemic. It was, at one point, it was an antique store. It was a church. I mean, they've done all kinds of stuff to it. The thing is that house deserves to be preserved. And honestly, what I personally would love to see happen for it, for that space, is for the owner of this property to get in touch with the Hilltop Historical Society and to work out some sort of deal to turn that place into a permanent home for the Hilltop Historical Society and maybe other Hilltop community groups, so that it no longer is at the mercy of potentially reckless tenants or businesses or whatever, and to restore that place. That house originally belonged to Eldon Smith and his father, William Smith, who were Holstein breeders. Eldon Avenue is named for the original owner of that house or that property. So that would be my, it doesn't have anything to do with the zoning, but it would be neat to not see any more of this, like having to struggle to find mortgage and blah, blah, blah. I honestly don't think that you are going to sell it, be successful in selling it as a single family home. The parking's crap. Right now, nobody wants to live on Broad Street that close to traffic. It would just be, I think it would better serve the community in general as a hilltop space. So please, would you tell the owner to contact them about maybe working something out, and then he can like get his money back, you know, like if they lease it, if they work out some sort of deal, maybe rent to own, I don't know. So it's just a thought.
I'll pass it on tomorrow.
Sure. So, thank you.
I'm gonna give it right back to you, but can you describe what the hardship is that the applicant is experiencing that requires the variance?
The hardship is that the existing zoning doesn't allow a single family house. That's it.
Why, I guess, just to expand on that, why is he so intent on selling it as single family? Realistically, who's gonna buy it as a single family house?
Well, we're never going to get to that point unless we establish the single family house as a legal use on the property, because you can't sell it as a single family house now, because the use of record with the city is a church and the auditor says it's a 3-unit apartment building.
Why has he tried to sell it as a discount zone?
I don't know that.
It's not listed for sale. They have not been listed for sale since the market. They don't. Let me give you that
So I just want to remind the commission that the downtown commission voted no on a simple request to demolish a building because the developer did not have a future site plan for that property. The developer said that there's a hardship, that they can't sell that building the way it is, and they need to demolish it. Downtown commission said, nope, you don't need to demolish it. We can figure something else out. So I'd just like to remind everybody here that that's something that we are very capable of doing, is saying no.
Sorry. So as an analogy, which they always tell us not to use analogies as lawyers because you get in trouble. But as an analogy, if I came to the commission and said, my single family home, I would like to have a variance for it to be zoned commercial, to be used commercially. And you said to me, well, what's your hardship? Why do you need a variance? Are you going to open a shop in your home? And I said, no, I just want to be able to find out, you know, if I can open a shop or if it would be viable, so I need the variance. I just think there's not a hardship. The bare minimum in the law to consider a variance is that the applicant explain that they have a hardship. And actually the hardship statement that was filed by the applicant states that the surrounding properties are residential, when obviously they are not. The two properties on either side are
I think he said repair shops, auto body shops or repair shops. So all the surrounding properties are commercial. And then one other thing is that one of the factors to consider in whether there is a hardship is whether the property owner knew of the status of the property when they bought it and whether their hardship was created by themselves. So I think if there is any hardship here, which it hasn't been stated, the owner is fully aware of it when purchasing it. And any limitation is just the way the property was. So that's why I voted no at the committee meeting. I just don't see what the hardship is here.
Your reference to the downtown commission is not relevant because they were talking about knocking down the building. We're not talking about knocking down the building. We're talking about establishing a use in that building that originally that's what it was used for. And you're confusing an area variance with a use variance. So we are asking for a use. So the simple thing, this was once used as a single family house. I have a client that wants to use it for a single use. So it's identified. It's not your unknown commercial use. It's identified as a single family use. So I think the question is, do you want to have that ability to have somebody use that as a single family house? I mean, I think it's a very simple yes or no. Well,
there isn't a plan to use it as a single.
Yeah, you're trying to sell it, so he's not planning to live in it, he's planning to sell it as a single family home.
I can't sell it as a single family house. I can't finance it as a single family house unless I have a piece of paper that says it can be used as a single family house.
Are you a mortgage lender? I just.
No, but let me tell you.
You're making claims that I.
No, the last time we were here, you even had one of the commission members who said that they ran the same problem when they were trying to get something financed.
It was me, sir. And it's much of things that I can explain to you what I was talking about.
Thank you. Like I said, as to the downtown area commission who voted no on that building, they did not see the reasoning as to why it needed to be torn down, and they did not have a plan for the future. And I'm trying to explain that to everybody here that the person seeking this variance is wanting to do something with this property with no future vision plan. And we're trying to say that we want this building to be used as a commercial building on a commercial corridor. That's what I'm trying to make a point of clarification is you're trying to rezone this building to allow for a single family use surrounded by commercial buildings. And the hardship has not been actually explained. I don't believe that your client fully knew how that building was zoned a year ago and 2 years ago when they came before us to try to get it zoned as a drop-in center. So.
Well, one, we're not rezoning. We're doing a council variance for a specific use. And again, knowledge of the zoning condition is not relevant to a council variance. Area variance is a different situation.
All right, I have a quick question. Is the applicant present today?
No.
Okay. I would have had a question that would have been directed at him. I really wanted a clarification on his original margin statement that he was seeking a mortgage in it. And I just wanted to see if there was a clarification, was it miswording or was he actually seeking a mortgage for himself?
I don't know. We've revised that statement based on further conversation. And you have a copy of it.
Right, yeah, I just want to know, ask the applicant why he originally used that phrasing, but he's not here to answer that question. Mr. Maddox had a question, then Ms. Kiflin had a question. You saw the question, Ms. Kiflin? No. Okay.
My question was around the same thing. It said in here, in the original paperwork, that he was currently attempting to secure a mortgage on the property. So I just want to be clear, if that's what he wants to do and make it a single family home, so he can get a mortgage to do something with the equity on that property, that's on him, right? I don't know why we would fight that. I don't know what he wants to do with the money. I don't know, I don't know that's what he wants to do now, but I'm just saying, it's a single use. I'm having a hard time with all the heartburn over it myself. So that's all.
I get what you're saying because kind of like, what's the harm in allowing it, right? But I think my idea on it, or what I think could happen, and no one has said otherwise, is this person wants to take money, take value out of the property, do something else with it. But if they weren't allowed to do that, they could sell it as it is and it could be used for something. Right now,
He can always do that. That's the point. All he can do right now, if we said yes, make it a single family resident use wise, he could go get a loan and he could let the building go to pot. He can do that today. If he doesn't get anything out of it, he can't sell it.
right, I guess,
You're not gonna force his hand. I don't know if that's what we're trying to do, but this seems like a lot of conversation.
yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think that the bare minimum requirement and a use variance is actually more restrictive than another type of variance. So there has to be at least a hardship that's been shown. And I think just from a legal perspective, there hasn't been any hardship shown at all.
Community questions. Would you like, is Victoria, sorry. Oh, it was, okay, great. Mr. Dowse.
Mr. Brown, has there been any further communication since the last meeting with the Highland Civic Association?
There was a exchange of emails based on the conversation I had with the city. Jeff has that information as well. The city said there was no need to have any other conditions or anything like that based on specifically that we were asking for.
Okay. Okay, so just for time purposes, I'd like to request that commissioners refrain from any questions until the community has a chance to chime in. Are there any community questions or comments? Mr. Phillips.
My name is Jeffrey Phillips. I'm president of the Highland West Civic Association, who opposes Council Variance CB 21-117. This applicant was before you in 2019 to approve a change in zoning to use this site as a residential treatment facility. And again in 2020 to approve a council variance for a residential care facility. In both cases, you voted no for reasons of safety, lack of adequate parking. It was against current planning for the area, a lack of clarity, and those living near this property were opposed. Now the same applicant is before you again, originally asking you to approve a single unit dwelling in a commercial district, which is now morphed into a single family dwelling. The original statement of hardship indicated the applicant, without giving any accompanying documentation, such as a reflection letter, was being denied a mortgage and needed this change, which has since morphed into the applicant would now like to sell this as a single family home, having neither a purchase contract nor being able to establish a realistic market for a single family home in between two car repair garages, two car lots with a razor wire fence along its eastern lot line in a busy commercial district with no rear yard. Last month, we provided you a drawing which clearly showed 4 pre-existing apartment units. It also showed you no new door cuts, which reunite the structure, along with an unlabeled large spa area in the rear addition. Based on previous applications from the owner, we believe this is not only a drawing of what it is, but also what it is going to be, as it is the same drawing they provided the permit desk downtown for a certificate of final occupancy on July 1st of 2021. It's known as FCO 2125187, probably before they were told they would have to appear here. For the drawing, this could be set up for more than one traditional single family use, perhaps foreshadowing a new variance request and a new hardship statement that they were unable to sell this as a single family home with 4 kitchens, a spa area in the rear addition, in between 2 car repair garages, 2 car lots with a razor wire fence along its eastern lot line in a busy commercial corridor. with no real yard. Further, this change goes against current city planning for the corridor, which we must protect because that is our historic corridor, okay? The plan calls for retail on the lower level with residential upstairs. So it already can be used as a residential site. What we ask you to do, and I don't mean to make this sound any more ridiculous or preposterous than it is, please read between the lines and vote no on this variance. I thank you.
I do have a simple yes or no question for you, Jeffrey. Which I understand where you're trying to go with on reading between the lines. That statement is understood. However, assuming that the zoning, the Department of Zoning did its job and enforced zoning the way it's supposed to be, would either you or the Civic Association oppose it as the use of a single family home if that was its true intended purpose?
No, we would not, because we've had complaints about other remodels and other things throughout the Highland West area, and they are not enforced because they're civil matters, they're not criminal. I would have had people here, or at least at the last zoning committee meeting, if we had known that this was going to be held with Zoom as a hybrid meeting. And those are people with actually legal standing. And because we were denied that, we were also denied due process as a community. So again, I just ask the commissioners, please vote no. I'm all in favor of negotiating something where you have residential on the top, but let's maintain the lower level as being retail. And where's the applicant? I'm here. Thank you.
It's real simple. We would like to reestablish the historic use of the property as a single family house. And that's a simple question.
Any other community questions or comments? Got anything on Facebook?
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
No.
I don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean. I don't know what you mean when you say read between the lines. And I assume probably people online don't either. Are you able to provide some clarification? I just want to understand what the objection is here.
She's asking, what do you mean when you said read between
I
the lines?
understand what she's asking. This is a third time around to try to turn this into what could be basically a rooming house because there is no way to sell it as a single family home with 4 kitchens, in between 2 car shops, in between 2 parking lots with a razor wire fence on the left or on the eastern lot line with no yard. So we are questioning, as is our right as a community, and we don't believe third time should necessarily be a charm. We need clarity. We need the owner here. And if he does want to do a single family home, and that is not the true drawing that I presented you, where are the plans? Everyone else has plans. This is bad. And I ask you, based upon the vagueness of it, please vote.
Any further community questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move motion to approve the application.
Barnacle,
I vote yes at committee, because the applicant is not here, and I do have some questions that I feel like only the applicant can answer. And
Bates,
No.
Bird, no.
No.
Dallas,
No.
Fagan,
Yes.
Kepler,
No.
Kepler, Klein, Josh Maddox,
Yes.
Sean Maddox,
Yes.
Mohammed.
No.
I'm a no. Mr. White,
No.
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
What was the final vote?
10 no's, 3 yeses.
Final outzoning application is 1945-1947 West Broad Street. Case number is CB 21-121. This is a council variance request. The original application and Ed committee was approved 5 yes, 0 no, unanimous approval. This is an interesting property. If you come off of 70 West, or you're taking West Broad from right after 70 West, it's basically the first property that you see on your left going up the hill. It is a historic building. It was previously used, I believe, as a flower shop and a confectionery shop. The plot itself includes both the shop right there. It also includes a apartment building right behind it, and then also a detached residential property further behind that. And that part's facing, I believe, an alley instead of West Broad. The entrance, the applicant wishes to allow for restaurant usage. They're asking for a parking variance, as well as some other variances regarding the frontage and landscaping. They are looking to have seating on the roof of this restaurant. Access for vehicles will be in the rear. The parking situation that they've done for lines provides, I believe, 2 residential spots and then 3 commercial spots, 3 residential spots, and then was it 5 commercial spots, including handicap accessible parking. So if you would like to, Ms. Lyons, see your presentation.
Hello, everyone. Felicia Lyons. I think I'm odd enough that I don't need this, but I will use it anyways. As Commissioner Barnacle has mentioned, this property is a historical property, although it has been very difficult to find a lot of history. There has been it's been documented both on Facebook and in my application, the information that I was able to find. I am looking to get a variance, multiple variances to permit for an eatery, drinking establishment, a two-unit dwelling, and a single unit dwelling on the same lot, which is currently zoned as AR1. This plan does fit into the envision hilltop and plan for a mixed-use property number 3. And the variances specifically is to reduce the required parking from 19 spaces to 8 spaces. As mentioned earlier, we're looking at doing 3 spaces for residential as well as 5 for commercial. We do need to maintain the current frontage because of the historic nature of this property. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room. It is what it is. It was built, we assume, sometime between 1872 and 1899. So the frontage on the public street for the existing single dwelling unit, which is the commercial space that was in the picture with the rooftop seating, is what we're talking about there. We also want to maintain the building line of 0 feet along the West Broad Street. It is 50 feet is required, but being that it is the building that it is, we'd like to maintain it at 0 feet. We'd also like to maintain, reduce the minimum side yards along the west property line from 5 feet to 2.5 feet for the front of the building and 1.5 feet for the single dwelling unit, which is located at the back of the property. I shook my head at the wrong time, Commissioner Barnacle. That rear building actually does face, it's on the alley, but it faces Broad Street. And we'd like to permit a side yard of 4 feet for the proposed dumpster that is actually located there. That's being pointed out. It's on the east property line. We'd like to maintain no rear yard for the single dwelling unit. It is right on the alley. There's very little space between the back side of the building and the alley line. And we'd like to obstruct the required side and rear yards with a parking lot and retaining wall. This property was purchased back in July of last year. And as you well know, the building has been vacant for quite some time, very much in disrepair. There's lots of squatting that has occurred in the buildings and lots of disrepair. All the buildings have been cleared out at this point and secured to the best of my ability. However, I have had to secure it multiple times since purchasing it, and that goes with it's part of the course, so that's fine. As soon as we are able to get the variances that we need and are able to submit for building, we hope that that will be a non-issue going forward. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to tell you I'm excited as all get out about this. Because this property, I've lived here for a majority of my life, and for most of it, I think when I was very young, they were doing the Great Blankets thing, but that little carriage house dugout confectionery spot has been a figure of my, I've imagined it lots of times, like what it used to be. Like I've been fascinated with this place forever. And so to see something good come of it finally is just incredible. I do have one question, and that is, are you completely rebuilding the lower building? Or are you really like having?
I want to renovate it. I'm working, and I believe Susan Keeney's on the line on the Zoom meeting. I've been working with Susan Keeney from the Columbus Landmarks to see about establishing it as a historical property. It's too beautiful. It's too beautiful too.
Because I've seen the pictures of the structure itself, of the confectionery and the house, and like how down to the studs the house had been stripped, and so I didn't know that even could be renovated. So I'm really stunned that.
So I have had structural engineers out already. A lot of people, but structural engineer has approved that the building is solid. The walls are solid. There's one area that I think actually it's an optical illusion, and the building looks like it's kind of caving in, but it actually isn't. It's just that one area that has been repaired with brick, and the brick is not stable. But the rest of the stone wall, there's 3 walls in the dugout, actually in the hill, and those 3 walls are about 2 feet thick. It's beautiful stone, original stone, and so that is in solid shape. The walls are in good shape and does not even require additional shoring up to put the rooftop down.
That's exciting. I'm sorry.
We're all just watching you have this like old
fan of it.
I remember, so back in the day, there used to, somebody put some sort of like Bible tract, like Vatican II thing on the front door. And so when you're a little kid, you've got like the marks that you pass, you know, to look for. And I always looked for that building. Like I've always wanted to see this happen. So whatever you need from me, yeah, I'm on. I'm making it.
Is this gonna be a leased space or will you be operating it out of it?
I am hoping that the space can be used for social enterprise, quite frankly. That is food-based and can give back to our community. Particularly, I have a particular interest in youth. And so I would love for that social enterprise to pour into that, into youth.
As a two resident talking rentals.
They would be rentals.
Okay.
So my question is, talk about eatery and then something with you with food. Is there alcohol at all?
That is not determined, but I don't know. I can't tell you that. I don't know. If we have to apply for that, then we certainly will. But because youth are involved, it may be possible. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yes.
Are you planning any sort of buffering between the front and like the street there on Westboro?
Yes, thank you for sharing that. At the zoning committee that came up, the space that will be an outdoor eating area at the Broad Street level, the picture does not show that there's any barrier or buffer there. I do anticipate that there will be some sort of railing that goes between the sidewalk and the patio area. The other thing, just in case, the other thing that came up was a barrier at the window between the two-story house and the patio. There's a very large picture window there. That was brought up at the zoning committee, and I will work with my architect to figure out something like that. I'll try to get it.
It's very exciting.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Phillips?
I stayed specifically for this. Again, the Highland West Civic Association, we never discussed and we can't take it up, and I can't say that, we endorse it. But as an individual who lives in Highland West, that's really great. And actually, it's sad because its counterpart, that old White House that used to be between those two apartment buildings, one of the oldest houses on Broad Street, was torn down. That was the proprietor of that candy shop back when it was called Doug Confectionery back in the late 1800s. My other hope is Broad Street, before we allowed the state of Ohio to widen that Broad Street into 4 lanes or 3 lanes on each side, that sidewalk was out in front. And I believe the woman who had that as a flower shop used to have flowers out along Broad. And I believe at the same time, you could park on Broad all the way down the hill. So if someday we could get with the city and have them make that into the road diet that we really need, which is between Lechner and the bottom of the hill where people get on the freeway, if we could get our parking back and maybe have a nice little bump out in front of your place, which would protect your patrons and protect the volunteers we have at the park when we work those flower gardens, because we have cars whipping at 55 miles an hour. But you're a welcome addition, and yeah, we cannot have asked for more. So thank you.
Thank you. Joe Ardro, 2335 Glenview, also resident in the Highland West area. When we saw this come to the committee, it was very exciting to see the potential development on this property. So to the resident in the area, thank you for taking it on, and it's great to learn about the history, and good luck. We urge you to support it.
What's the timeline?
It's a lot longer than I anticipated. I wanted to be further along than I am now, but I am hoping that I can be finished with this project in the next year and a half. So
Soon. Sooner than that.
I mean, it's a lot of variables, you know, it's really busy right now and contractors and permits and all of that, but it'll be contingent on that, but I'm hoping that in a year and a half.
Just speaking on timeline, that commercial space in the front, just be done around the same time as the residential stuff, back at the lot.
I would hope so. I mean, like I said, I am working with Columbus Landmarks and Susan Keeney to try and get the property identified as a historical property. So I don't know how long that's gonna take. But I know that I cannot work on that building until that decision has been made, whether it's gonna be a historical.
Seeing no one,
I just want to add, it's not fresh.
I just want to say thank you so much from not only a resident, but a champion behind the Glenwood lower level. This is going to be a huge turning point for that part and that section of the community. And I can't thank you enough for doing this. To my other commissioners, I want to say this is what we need to be. I want to say that this is what I want to see when people come before us, when they decide to do something with old buildings in our neighborhood. This is a full, complete site plan on what the applicant wants to do, what they're trying to do, and what they're hoping to achieve. By partnering with us and actually showing up and talking to us, I just can't say thank you enough. And I'm just so excited for Glenwood. And if anybody has any hesitant with the parking, Glenwood, or not Glenwood, but yes, Glenwood. It's less than a 6-minute walk from this parcel. There's plenty of street parking. There's plenty of parking at the rec center itself. Again, I just want to thank you.
actually, it's a 2-minute walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go out across the park, come up the alley, that's right there.
Well, the Google Maps says it's a lovely 6-minute walk if you want to walk
If you want to go
from the front of the street.
Go all the way down Blackburn, yeah.
But again, I just want to say thank you. I same with Jenny. I moved here about 3 years ago, and that was one of the buildings that I saw every time driving home from work or just along West Broad. I'm like, it's just something so unique to the Hilltop, and I'm just so grateful that you're actually doing something with it and bringing some fresh life back into it. Thank you.
There's a comment from Susan Keeney, sorry.
Oh, I just put something in the chat box, just clarifying and emphasizing how delighted we are to be working with Ms. Lyons on this project. And we've begun the process of a preliminary inquiry form to see if the project is eligible for the National Register. So as she said, it's going to take a little while, but we're making the right steps, and we're really happy to be partnering with Ms. Lyons on this.
I'm going to motion to approve the application.
Mr. Barnacle, I have a question, Susan Keeney, is would it help for the commission or the community to write letters on Ms. Lyons' behalf? Would that help to get that historical registry designation?
I'm not, I think it's a wonderful idea, but I think what the State Historic Preservation Office is looking for is if any of you have any information about the history or, memories, photographs, anything like that, that's what we would look for to help determine its eligibility, its sense of place in the community, any references to previous owners. I know that Ms. Lyons has done some research on that, but any other information that you might have would be terrific. How it fits into the network and the transportation along Broad Street, things like that. That would be great.
Thank you.
I just had one quick question for her. Since Wyland Park and other neighborhoods up in that area make a lot of use of what they consider historical restoration grants, And these are basically row houses built in the 1920s that they get totally redone and revamped and everything to go along with the upgrade of their community. Wouldn't this property also be able to get those, or are they dependent upon being designated historical? Because I don't remember those row houses along 11 being designated as a historical site.
I think some of the properties along there are in what's called a local historic district. So they are eligible for, you know, when you have historic tax credits, you can get state and local. So I think those were eligible for a certain number of tax credits. And they're also probably in Wyland Park, there was a lot of support and money from Ohio State in terms of developing and rehabilitating those properties there as well. So I think you had both a local historic district and a lot of funding from other sources for those projects.
As the commission, maybe we all need to think about creating 2 historic districts, one on Broad and one on Sullivan Avenue. And Highland West would certainly support those, is my guess.
That would be a great thing to talk to the Planning and Economic Development Committee about, which we have a new chair for. I'm really excited about this property, but we also need to move the commission agenda along, so please do vote.
Barnacle,
Yes.
Bates Fry,
Yes.
Birdsell, yes. Dallas,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Kepler. Skiplet. Klein. Yes. Josh Maddox,
Yes.
Sean Maddox,
Yes.
Mohammed.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. White,
Also.
that is 13 yeses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that includes our zoning committee report and all of its activities tonight. Thank you. Would love to hear from folks that are tuning in on Facebook and YouTube, anything in the chat just about the experience of your ability to hear, your ability to see. I did want to address one comment that was made about this meeting. We were recommended the last time we met to create a hybrid meeting for folks that we need to be here in person as commission. This meeting is open to the public and we need to make it known as such. But if there were specific presentations that were going to happen, then we could send a Zoom link to those presenters so that they could be here to do that presentation. If anybody would like in the future, as we continue to try to mold these hybrid meetings, if anybody wants to provide testimony or public comment, we're going to need to make sure that that everybody understands how to get that request. I don't, think about just broadcasting the Zoom link, are we really creating a public meeting? Like, we need to be able to have the space, you need to be able to show up, you need to be able to come in person. So again, just kind of saying that we're learning a lot through this process, and just any feedback anybody has that's listening in or participating tonight, would love to hear that. So let's move on to our next committee report, community relations. Our co-chairs, Jenny Kepler and Josh Maddox.
All right, so yeah, we met last week and we kind of discussed wonderful what technology doesn't want to work. There we go. Okay, so we discussed kind of the hybrid meetings, how we're going to set that up. One of the discussion points was purchasing more of these cameras. No, there's too close to me. So I'm trying to figure this all out the whole time, so that's why I'm kind of zoned in. Our camera's gone down at least once this go around. The audio is not great, I can tell from folks, and I can just see that the Wi-Fi signal is not very strong. So kind of the idea was we're going to have multiple cameras around, which would give multiple mics in different areas so they could pick up the audio. But I don't think that that's going to work out because we can't have multiple people streaming at once. We have 2 people streaming right now and it's gone down at least once so far. I don't even know what that's called. So yeah. So we're gonna have to figure that out, plain and simple. It is what it is. You know, I can sit here and say that we're one of the only commissions that's doing this in general, so yay for us, but if it doesn't work, then it's not really that great of a step forward. So working on that. So I did look at the budget. We do have constant contact as a line item specifically. So we're gonna purchase that, just need to set up I want to set up a Google phone number on that GHAC chair account. I set up a Google phone number on a different Google account, but I want to set it up on that. So we'll get constant contact, which is a email where we're gonna. Huh?
It's a newsletter platform.
Newsletter platform. So we'll be able to get more things out to folks. Over the past few days, I've digitized all of the records from the last election. So we have all of those email addresses, addresses, all in a digital format now. So I can use that to create our email list. And moving forward, we can start building that out. If you would like to be on the email list, you can go to our website, the CBUS Area Commission / Greater Hilltop Area Commission, something along those lines. It's on our Facebook page as well if you can't find it there. But you can go in there and sign up for the email strings, and we'll start getting you added there as well. We discussed name tags, and we also discussed business cards and counter cards. So I don't know if you want to.
Yes, so the idea was to essentially recreate the little counter card that Zerka put together last year for the TAP Summit that had all of our email addresses on it, as kind of our yearly collective area commission business card that we handed out. I don't want to show that. I've got a small version. So on one side, it would just have general information about the commission, our Facebook handle, our website. That's the business card. And then on the back, it would just list all of our email addresses. They're very similar to the design. I thought it was great. I basically stole it. So thank you, Zerka. If you're out there, if you're watching. This would be like a countercard sized postcard as one option. The other thing we talked about was just a commission business card. So not individual business cards, but just a commission business card. And there's a couple different, if you scroll down, there's a couple different options we can talk about. That would just have our Facebook handle and our website. A lot of times we're talking to people and we want to direct them to our Facebook page, like the main point of contact. We don't have anything for that on it. So this would serve that purpose. The backside would be blank if you want to write email addresses or your personal committee assignments, whatever. The front would just be this first design. I'm not a graphic designer, obviously, but I've got a couple of options here. I don't think we want to do a ton of discussion tonight, but that's what we discussed at committee, and this might go back to committee next month. We have serious discussion. I would recommend doing that. I definitely can. Suggestions on how to tax other like generators.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
I will do that.
I will add that not the business card, but the thing that Zerka did create was very useful last year. I took it with me when I was doing the bus tour and before and after I handed it off to city council members. They were kind of just astonished that we just had all of our information in like one spot. They left there and I was like, okay, well, I need to get a hold of so-and-so. Their information is also on here. So I highly recommend the group one. It's just it's already printed. You don't have to write anything out. Nobody has to read my horrible handwriting. But I highly recommend the full.
All right. And so next meeting, we tabled consistency standards, roles, responsibilities, things of that nature. So we'll pick that up next meeting. And I haven't heard back from Design Refinery. We're discussing changing the location from Parkview United Methodist to a more central location where folks don't have to necessarily come in and set everything up for us. But I haven't heard back on that yet. So tentatively, it'll be Tuesday, the 22nd, our next meeting at Parkview for the time being. But I will push out any changes on Facebook, on our Google Calendar as well, You have some, Kevin? So, that's all I got for now.
Thank you to the Community Relations Committee for all your hard work over the last month. And Josh, thank you for everything you've done to set up this hybrid meeting and all the time you put into this. Appreciate it. Moving on to our next committee report, government legislation. Leah and Jenny are co-chairs.
Yes, we did not meet in January. We wanted to break week for new appointments from our new chair. We are scheduled to meet in February, on February the 14th. It's Valentine's Day, so bring your dates. We'll still plan to meet at 7 p.m. at the Design Refinery. Main agenda item will just be setting goals for this year.
Human Service and Education, quick update, still following the facilities master plan for City of Columbus schools. We did get our committee recommendation over to the board. We're still waiting on a lot of their legwork. Now it's in their court to draft all of the legislation, the language, and the plan that will go before voters in November. That information should be available to us by the end of spring, beginning of summer. I do have a list of schools that will be closing. I do not have the dates. It's a 20-year plan, and I have no idea when we will fall into that plan, nor do I know how that decision is going to be made. That decision is ultimately up to the board. Again, I don't know how they're going to base their decisions, but I will let you know as soon as I find out what is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and where, when. Please feel free to keep attending our Human Service and Education meetings. We meet third Wednesday of every month at the library at 5:30. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but it is the third Wednesday of this month.
Thank you, James. The Liquor Permit Review Committee, I've been the chair for the last year, and we did have a meeting in January. I think it was January 24th. We had it at the public library, and Rachel Winning is going to be taking over as chair of that committee for 2022. You know, what we've been doing in the last year in the Liquor Permit Review Committee is just kind of keeping an eye on the permits that were issued and transferred in the greater Hilltop by zip codes, right? And so we didn't meet over the holidays. So I put on the screen here between October and end of October to the end of January in the greater Hilltop. These are the liquor permits that were issued starting at the top at the Sheet Store at 4355 West Broad. They were issued a permit in October. It's to be able to sell as a carryout establishment, beer and wine. You know, as you go down the list here, there was some issues of permits on Georgesville Road, 126 Belvedere Avenue. There was a transfer of a permit, and then also a transfer of a permit, Bob's Bar and Grill, from one address transferred to another. So we continue, don't know if we'll continue to provide this level of data this year, but they've been putting that on our website. If you go to that long website that Josh talked about, you can link on to this committee, and there's files over the last year or so that are giving this kind of information. If any liquor permits are pending, those are also included there that we've been doing in the files for those zip codes in the greater Hilltop, and any permits that have been denied or just we've decided we're not going to move forward with the permit application. So I'm going to leave it up to Rachel to kind of schedule moving forward what those meeting times and places and locations will be. I don't know if you're ready to announce that or if you want to do that at a later date.
I mean, I think the same schedule will apply, but what is the fourth Tuesday or the third?
We've been meeting the fourth Monday of each month at 6 p.m. at the library.
Yeah, so that'll be the 28th of February.
Mhm.
So we can stick with that.
Okay, so the next meeting will be February 28th, Monday, 6 p.m. at the Hilltop Library. Great, thank you. Planning and Economic Development Committee, we have two new co-chairs for our committee. Simon Dallas and Victoria Klein are going to be our chairs. So we didn't meet. I don't know if you have a report or not, or if you want to talk about when the committee will meet next. Tentatively, the next meeting will be February 10th at 5 p.m. at the library. Okay, great. For Public Safety Committee, we have a new chair this year, and Hannah is going to be our chair. Thank you very much for taking on this committee and the leadership there. So we didn't meet, but do you have any announcement about when you would like to potentially meet next time? Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, perfect. So to be announced here in the next week or so, those details, just a reminder to everybody, we try to get announcements about our meetings at least 10 days ahead of time, so they can be posted in the city bulletin. Those get published on Wednesday, so you know, maybe you could be a little shy of 10 days or so, but just that there's a process that we need to make sure that the public gets notified of our meetings. So thank you. Recreation and Parks Committee. Josh is going to be our chair for 2022. He wasn't able to attend tonight. He did send me a brief email. He didn't have anything to report. Maybe during announcements, I'll go back to him and read my email just to refresh what he said, not to hold this up. So I don't know if anybody on the committee knows when the next meeting is going to be.
The next Recreation and Park meeting will be February 19th at 9 a.m. at the Hilltop Library. Again, we will just be going over a wrap up of last year as well as just planning for this year and trying to executing our goal of last year, trying to submit capital improvement projects, actual applications to the city of Columbus to get 5 parks on rotation for improvements. If anybody wants to be a part of that or involved in any way, please feel free to either email Josh or myself or attend the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we didn't have any unfinished business on the agenda this month, but I did have an item of new business that we have a finance committee that we kind of newly formed last year, and it represents a representative of a chair or co-chair for each committee. So as Melissa talked about earlier, we need to start talking about the money that we receive from the city of Columbus towards operating our commission and the work that it does. We need to start planning for how that's going to be. So just wanted to put up that we need to set a date for a finance committee meeting. We can talk about trying to schedule that now, but at least that's new business I want to bring forward so that we can get a meeting scheduled, hopefully in March. Okay, so do we have any announcements from commissioners?
Before you go, I have a quick question. Do you want me to send around like a poll for when people might be available?
Sean, you can set
that. What's that Wednesday? It's an open day. Tuesday to Thursday is the first visit.
I just have one announcement. That's the Wilshire Heights Block Watch meeting will be February 19th at 11 a.m. at the library. Anybody in Wilshire Heights area or surrounding, or anybody in general in the Hilltop would like to come and attend, learn more about Block Watch activities and how to possibly form one in your area, please feel free to attend. We're trying to make this as open to everybody, not so much people in our area, our boundaries, but everyone in the Hilltop, so we get Block Watch established so that we can start tackling some of these systemic issues facing our community. Thank you.
I just wanted to make an announcement that just for people in the community, especially those on Facebook, tomorrow is the deadline to file for office if you want to run for office in 2022 for the partisan offices. If you are a citizen who wants to run for a public office, I highly encourage you to go ahead and do it. It's not a lot of signatures. You can print out the form online, and based on the state law that was just passed for an emergency, you can actually get your signatures from anyone in the county, not just the district that you're for the office you're seeking. So the only one that's been extended is Congress, which if you're a first-time candidate listening to me right now, I would encourage you not to run for Congress. It's pretty hard. But if you are, but for State House, State Senate, Those are, especially the state house is a pretty decent thing to run for, first time office holders. So, if you were thinking about running and you didn't know, just, you can go ahead and do that, right?
Any other announcements from commissioners? And what about, anybody have an announcement they'd like to share?
Shelley, do you have an updated cleanup date? I'm sorry, a cleanup date, neighborhood cleanup?
Oh, right, yes, it's February, I want to say it's the 21st, so I'm just not that. I'm sorry, it's a Saturday before President's Day. So, that would be 12th, sorry, February 12th.
So Shelley Casto is announcing that there's going to be a cleanup, a neighborhood cleanup, Saturday, February 12th. What time?
We're gonna do it in the afternoon, so I'm sorry guys, I'm actually out on my calendar. Oh, is it the 19th?
February 19th at noon, and it's going to be at Meet at the Garden.
Noon on the 19th.
Meet at the Highland Youth Garden to noon on February 19th. Okay. Thank you for letting me pass that along via the microphone. So great. Any other announcements? You have one more? Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Renee King. I'm a reporter with the Columbus Dispatch, and I'm in the Hilltop Library from 9 to 5 on weekdays until the end of February, as part of an outreach we're doing called our mobile newsroom. I'm right by the front desk. So if there's anything you really think needs to be covered in your community, people we should profile, businesses we should write about, please come meet me and my colleagues at the library. We're hoping to build relationships in the community so that our coverage will, extend beyond this month. But I just wanted to introduce myself. Please come meet me at the library.
Well, thank you so much. So glad you're here tonight. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. And now hearing no other announcements, I'm going to make a motion to go ahead and adjourn our meeting for this evening. All in favor? Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be held on March 1st, 2022, 7 p.m. right here at Reserve Baptist Church.